Welcome to the Being in Sync 366 video series. It is Saturday all day, and today we're talking about change being easier when you have this one little but big realization. So I'm going to talk about that in 5 minutes. I'm going to wait for people to join on. Until then, for those of you watching on the replay, I'm Kiana Sage, and I guide people to peace, and I use a process called energy psychology. It's the alignment of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. And this is because we want alignment, because the natural laws, the principles that govern all of energy, follow patterns. And when our patterns are incongruent, when they're misaligned, when they are blocked or being siphoned or a million things, they will cause you to be off track, misaligned, not in alignment. And so when we're getting congruent, when we're getting alignment within, it's helpful to work with somebody like me, and that's what I help people do every day, all day. This is what I do, energy psychology. And then in this video series, I always want to give very, very practical advice that people can apply on their own. It's not dangerous. You don't need a degree to do this stuff. You are your own healer. Hey, Wendy, thank you. Thank you. I've got my inner light here. It's what's left of my amazing tea. Cheers to you all. And I've got my little rainbow, because life is good, and it says do more of what you love. So I'm here with my inner light. Oh, you have a few minutes. Okay, well today, this is the one thing that will make, Wendy, I just saw your comment fully. I got so excited when I saw you that I didn't read it fully. So, Wendy says I look great, but she only has a few minutes, so she's here. And the one tip that I'm gonna give today is what will make making changes easier. Because this one thing is what most people miss. And it really makes making the changes hard to look back on and say, I wish I would have. You don't have to wish. You won't have any regrets when you have this one realization. So I'm just going to wait a few more minutes for people to join on. Hey, Eric, good to see you. I've missed you the last few days. It is so hot in here. I'm going to open the window. Okay. Let's see. We're waiting 5 minutes before I start, and then it's going to be super easy. I'm going to give you the one thing and 3 things that will help support that one thing that will make change easier. Yeah, it's good to see you back here. Oh my goodness, y'all. So yesterday, I concluded a program that I have been running for I have been doing this particular program in this process privately for probably 7 years, and publicly for the last 5 or 6 years. And it was a program that I offered to the public, and I stopped offering it this year. Hey, Annika. Good to see you here. Hey, Gregory. You all. Oh my gosh. All right. Hey, Tammy. Good to see you. Today is one video of all the videos that I would recommend not missing. And people always say change is hard. Change is not hard. But understanding why change is not hard is sometimes hard for people because they lack this realization. And when you realize that what you're doing is misaligned, it's much easier to realign. But this is how you do it. So, what do you need to realize to make change easier is this one thing. This one thing. when you realize that what you are doing is no longer aligned with what it is that you value, it is so easy to make the decision, this isn't working for me anymore. So as I said, I was running this program for the last 6 years in public, and it was one of my longest running programs once I started offering my services to the general public. It was also my largest program, kind of. Yeah, I guess it was one of my larger programs. And it's definitely more popular than one-on-one sessions. It's a group thing. Anyways, what I had a realization is that when I got crystal clear on my values, this program no longer resonated with me. It no longer matched. It was no longer in alignment. So when you notice that what you're doing isn't in alignment with who you are and what you're growing into, it's easy. Done. There's what else do you need to know? That is going to hit you intellectually, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. That one realization. Is what I'm doing in alignment with your values? And if the answer is no, there you go. There's your one answer. Now, I have 3 follow-ups that will help you. Okay, hold on. I love this tea. The first thing that you must understand, and I don't mean to be pointing at you, but I think that this is so important. The first thing that you got to understand is that you must be willing to do an assessment. You have to be willing to assess, what am I doing in my life, in my work, in my personal life, in my friendships? What am I doing? What are my assessments? Is this working? And I just do a simple 0 to 10. A lot of people don't like to do that, but it's so easy because it helps you get more clear. What people miss is clarity. So this is how you get clear for yourself. I help my clients do this all the time. But you have to be willing to do an assessment. So you do your assessment and you realize, I'm doing this, I'm good at it, but there's something, I'm not enjoying it as much, or it's not what I thought it was, or it's missing these components, or I really like doing this. So one of the things that I really like is I like having deep, meaningful conversations with people. I like people having insights. I like people sharing their insights. I like people learning from one another, giving you tips on what's coming in 2025. So I want to do more of that. I want to do more of what I love to do, and that's aligned to my values, okay? So you have to be willing to do an assessment. The other thing is once you're doing the assessment, you have to be really willing to see, willing to be honest, willing to see things that are uncomfortable, and I spent months and months just training myself to see things that were difficult and uncomfortable so I could be stronger within. So highly recommend that, just as a side note, okay? So you got to be willing to see, because a lot of times we want to see things the way we want them to be, not as they actually are. So as you're doing your assessment and you're giving things a number, you'll get more clarity about that number. When are you really seeing clearly? So let's just say, I really like this friends that we have. They're fun. But when you look at what you value in friendship, just because they're fun, does that match all your values? It doesn't mean you don't have to be friends with them, but it may mean that you don't spend as much time with them because they are not in alignment with what it is that you value, like meaning and reciprocal relationships, and they're not petty or ridiculous, which a lot of people can be. So those require your willingness to see. And one of the things that I value is digging deep. And, when you dig deeper and you're willing to see, you are going to see. And then you are going to be able to see where you're misaligned, and you can get realigned. That's your job. That's your alignment. Then the third thing is really your willingness to realign. Your willingness to align within if that's really a priority, then these friends don't take precedence over you, or these family members don't take precedence over you. And your willingness to align doesn't mean that you can't spend time with people. It just means like the type of time that you spend with them might change. So the main crux of this whole thing is when you realize that change is needed, you will also realize that the things that you're doing are not always going to be in alignment with your values. So when you do a personal assessment, a willingness to see, and a willingness to align, these things will make change so much easier. So much easier. And shouldn't being aligned be easier? I think it should be. So that's what I have to say today about making change easier with this new awareness, with this practice. If you practice this, you will change your life. This Being in Sync 3-6 video series, I have given so many practical practices that people can employ that will literally change your life. But here's what I've learned is a lot of people don't want to do the work. They don't want to do the hard work, which is having realizations and then taking conscious action in alignment with that. It could be tough. Hey, Greg, good to see you. Yes, good to see you. Love it. Love Starboy. You're getting banned. What's going on here? Wendy, hope you've got that. Oliver's here helping in the chat. Thank you. Tammy, how are you doing these days? Eric's already wishing us Happy New Year. Hi, Danny. Good to see you. On Kush. Hello. Oh, we've missed your meaningful, deep comments. Hi, Zoya. I still have your questions, and I was looking at it today, and because it's not the end of the year, Zoya, I can't answer them. But I plan to next year, so you'll have to tune in for 2025. Hi, Mike. I love the key emblem on your name. Is that symbolic of something? But we cannot do every day. Love is much more. Thus, love is what runs everything. That is the key energy frequency to tap into. So good to see you here, Greg. Affleck is saying, how to calm down after being judged wrongly. Well, Affleck, you might not like my answer, so as with everything I say on this channel, take what resonates with you and leave the rest behind. But when you have true self-esteem, when you have real confidence that's aligned with your relationship with God, it's aligned with your heart, what other people think of you doesn't really matter. People judge you wrong all the time. I remember learning what people would say about me from my clients, from this one guy. So I work with a lot of executives for many, many years, and I would go into the office. This is prior to the lockdown. And I would go into the office, and I dressed nice. I dressed professional. And I have no idea what other people say about me unless they're telling me, which it's obviously people are judging based on their own perceptions and their own conscious alignment and awareness, which for the vast majority of people is fairly low. I'm not saying that all people have low intelligence, but a lot of people do. So you take what people say with a grain of salt because they're just reflecting their own perceptions of themselves. Everybody is always projecting. Everybody is always judging. That's what people do. So you can't stop them from judging. But anyways, fast forward, I got sat down at a coffee spot, and this guy was asking me about my consulting and about, this was a finance guy, so he was in charge of all the money at these organizations that I worked at. And it was an important meeting. I met with him for coffee, and he basically told me what people had been saying about me behind my back. And I was just like I was in utter shock. I was like, people say that? People think that? I couldn't even believe it. My mind does not think like that because I don't think in those terms, in like really with low intelligence and high judgment and pure ego and also very nasty. So when he told me this, I was shocked and I was stunned. And I was also like, he's like, you know what? As long as you're getting results, it never matters what other people think. And I thought, you know what? You're right. He's like, you just keep doing what you're doing because nobody else in these organizations is getting even close to the type of results that you're getting in the projects that you're on. So just keep doing what you're doing. And that was great advice. I don't know why he told me what he told me. I think he thought my surprise by it was funny. But he was always a straight shooter. He was not a man of integrity. So I think a lot of what he shared was probably what he thought as well. But anyways, the long story short is it doesn't matter what other people think of you. Just keep doing you, being your most authentic self, being in alignment, developing that deep relationship with God within you, source energy, creator. You want to connect with that. Connect with your God self, your higher self. These are aspects of your technology that are yours. And it's really important that you develop that. That will give you more self-esteem, more confidence, more love. And when you have more love, words like what people say about you, I mean, it really doesn't matter. But I will tell you, and I warned Jono on here about starting a YouTube because Jono's doing a lot of really deep healing. And, YouTube is, there's a lot of things that goes on social media that is not healthy. So you have to have a really clear idea about who you are and what you're about and stay tethered to your values because the social media platforms, people get really ruined by it. So know who you are is what I would say. And then you don't have to worry about what people are judging because who cares? They're just judging themselves. Thanks, Wendy. Have a great day. I'm so glad you're here, Tammy. Glad you're doing good. Hope you had a nice Christmas. What are Greg's saying? Thank you, Kiana, for all of the great energy and wisdom. Thanks so much, Greg. I appreciate your thoughtfulness and also your participation. There's a lot of not unkind things get said on these YouTube comments. So I appreciate that you value what I'm sharing here. So thank you for sharing that. I'm just cleaning my glasses because they always get so dirty. I put them in my hair. Okay, wishing you all a nice holiday, says Shal. Greg is saying, I found a love relationship. I'm not an alcoholic, but went to a local AA meeting and found God there. Well, Greg, God is in here. It's never outside you. It's not even an organization. But I'm glad that you found God, and hopefully that you're learning that God is connected to you through your heart. Love it. No room for hate in your heart. Glad to hear that. Hello, Shane. Hello. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your flowers. Paul said, the man said he met God in AA. Well, I'm not going to subscribe to any organization, any religion, anything that has a dogma associated with God is taking God outside of you, and that's man-made, okay? I'm not saying that, I don't care where Greg comes to know God, but God is always found here, Paul. It's always within you. It's never in an organization, and it's never associated with a dogma, meaning rules. There are rules to how energy flows, but they're not man-made. They are made through the natural laws. And as we align to those, our life becomes good, lovely, loving, lovey. I call my dog Lovey, so it slipped out a little bit. Hola! Paul says AA is for Alcoholics Anonymous for the second suffering. Say more, Paul. For the thick and suffering. Well, there are so many programs that are associated with alcohol. What most people don't understand is that alcohol is not good for you. We've been introduced to alcohol, but it's not necessarily good for you. But also these organizations that, we're all on our own path. And I'm not in judgment of anybody who goes to AA at all. I would just say that it's important to understand that your direct relationship with God is never going to be through any religion or organization. It's going to be fostered within you, and as you become more aligned with your values, more aligned with source, creation, God, when you become more aligned with being kind, compassionate, when you become more aligned within yourself, within knowing who you are, life becomes better and you don't need things. And also, I will say this, as you rise up in consciousness, as you are holding more higher levels of what's called plasmic light energy, things like alcohol, they don't resonate. And they don't integrate well with your body. Like I took just a sip of wine, and I broke out in hives. So it's really important that you become aware and just listen to your body. So how did you learn that you are a spiritual woman, Paul says? I don't know that I would. I'm always shocked about what people perceived about me, but I wouldn't call myself a spiritual woman at all. But I guess that's how you perceive it. So how did I learn that I was a spiritual woman? Well, I've seen beyond the veil since I was a little girl. I've always been telepathic, so I've always had these skills that most people also have, but haven't paid attention to. And so I guess those terms are often aligned with spiritual people, but we all have access to it. Being an empath, a telepath, having healing abilities, that's organic to us. It's just so many people are misaligned that they don't embody them. So I'd say I've always had an awareness of spirit and the non-physical since I was a little girl, and when I was like 17, I started studying stuff like nanoparticles and stuff like that. It's always been interesting to me. Affleck says, thank you very much for your useful channel. How to stop overthinking and stop thinking about negative assumptions. Well, again, that's a lack of inner congruence, Affleck. So first, again, take what resonates with you and leave the rest behind. But overthinking is caused by many, many things of which I do not speak about on this channel. However, some of them are programs, conditioning, but the biggest one is a lack of inner connection. So you don't have a connection with nature. So if you have a lot of problems with thinking and overthinking and you want to stop that, you need to connect with nature. Get your hands in the dirt, your feet in the dirt, start planting plants, start connecting with plants. I have plants all around our house. My husband looks around, he's like, there's too many trees in this house. In front of me, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 trees, plus I have these types of plants. I mean, we have plants everywhere. So connect with nature is huge. But your thinking is going to be closely tied to programs and conditioning, but also ultimately tied to how you believe. And I know a lot of people don't want to challenge how they believe, but it's really important to begin to do that. I'm just saying thank you to my tea. It was so good. Such gratitude for my tea. I love my tea. Which, by the way, I'm hosting a tea ceremony, 8 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If any of you are interested, let me know in after this video, and you're welcome to join. So negative assumptions are, a lack of mental discipline, right? You're looking outside yourself to validate your inner world. Your inner world creates your outer world. Hello, Francisco. Good to see you. Love that you've joined us again. Oh, Eric says, I love you, Kiana, and everybody. We love you back, Eric. You're such a blessing to us. You're so committed, and we appreciate you. I appreciate you. I love seeing you here. And when you're not here, I was like, oh, I wonder if what's happening with Eric? Hello, Raw One. It's been a while. Okay, Raw One says, it's because your right hemisphere is working double time. Well, you want to have your left and right brain hemispheres balanced, which is what I help my clients to do. The question is why. I'm not going to go into the why because there's more than one answer. I've given a few, 3 big ones. Paul is saying there are 2 kinds of people in this world, either empath or narcissist. Well, that's very myopic. 2 kinds of people, empathic or narcissist. God help us all. I don't know what to say about that, Paul, other than that's one way of looking at things. I don't think we're that myopic. I think there's so much more options out there. There's so many more different people. And a narcissist is simply somebody that has an imbalance in the ego. They're not bad people. And it's not even that that's who they are. That's simply an expression. It's not who they are. An empath is an expression. It's not who they are. So you might be labeling people through their expressions, Paul, which would keep you very limited. Raw One has some advice here for you. If you're overthinking, it's the right hemisphere signaling you. Well, that's one way of looking at it. Okay, I don't know if I'm saying it. Sahil? I'm sure I'm butchering your name. I'm so sorry. God and the devil, they both stay within us. I disagree with that, but we do have a lot of Antichrist energy. It is abundant, unfortunately, but not more abundant than God consciousness. There has always been a balance between positivity and negativity in the universe based on the concept of yin and yang. Well, thank you for sharing. I disagree with you about one thing, but I could see where you're coming from. Raw One says overthinking is usually because the right hemisphere is signaling something wrong, and that trips the left hemisphere into overanalyzing. Well, that is a very practical and pragmatic way of looking at it, and that's also a very physical way of looking at it. But the non-physical plays into the physical. So and you are getting it with this signal. So Raw One is also saying that our bodies are receivers of signals. So there also may be some inorganic signaling happening in your vicinity. For example, Wi-Fi and EMF is inorganic, and that influences how the body integrates energy. It also changes how the brain is operating. But the brain is usually directed from the CNS, the central nervous system. They don't operate independently, although a lot of people think they do. Hello, Ash. Sid, thank you. Paul is saying he's an empath. Okay, empath Paul, make sure you're not a wounded healer who attracts the narcissist, which is often what happens. And that may be impacting how you are perceiving this world. Because when you are an empath, also known as an archetype that often expresses as a wounded healer, meaning that you have a lot of vulnerabilities, and that narcissist type expressions, they siphon those. So you want to correct that, Paul, if you have that issue. Nathan says, very good to hear your words, ma'am. Thank you so much, Nathan. I like how you spelled your name. Greg says, narcissists are people that will test your limits. Narcissists, Greg, get this one. They won't even resonate with you once you correct your vulnerabilities. Once you have done your work and you have corrected your signaling, your frequencies, that narcissist won't even resonate with you. They won't want to have anything to do with you. And therefore, they don't need to test your limits, because you won't even be bothered by them doing what they do, because they just do what they do. When you addressed your own vulnerabilities, your weaknesses, the narcissist will no longer have a use for you. Paul is saying a narcissist is rude and abrupt in nature. I've seen them come across as really pretty and kind, but they'll stab you in the back. There are all kinds of levels of narcissists. Okay, Paul, what you're saying is a term that is used to label people, but I think it would help you to loosen that label and just understand that people are not labels. They are expressions of beingness, right? And a narcissist is nothing more than an ego that is out of balance, period. It will take the sting out of it, and there's less judgment. People are always judging the narcissist. The narcissist is just a wounded person. They just got a lot of really deep wounds, and wounded people hurt others because they're hurt. Ash, I'm going to enable stuff in the new year. I'm still learning. Thank you. I don't even know how to do super chats and all that, but I'm going to set that up in January. January, I have a lot of new stuff coming. I won't be here every day, but I plan on I really enjoy you all. And I like that, we don't have hundreds of people here, although if we did have hundreds of conscious people, that would be amazing. But we don't. So, we have 17 of you all here right now. And, sometimes we get hundreds, sometimes we get thousands, sometimes, there's just 10 of us. But it's so nice to have really cool discussions about things that are important. So thank you, Ash, for asking for that. In January, I am launching a whole new way of how I'm doing my businesses, because I do have a business, and whether you come to me for support or help or not, that's great if you do, and if you don't, that's okay too. But I think it's important to have access to, information about the natural laws, practical application of how to grow and change. And hey, today's video was all about change. And if you did this one thing, you would change. And that is to realize that what are you doing? If it's not aligned to your values, you don't do it anymore. So I would say, to bring this topic back, Paul, that if there must be something in your values that aligns with the behaviors of people with an imbalance of the ego mind. Because once I cleared that issue with me, and let me tell you, there was a lot of narcissists coming as clients. They don't leave as a narcissist, by the way, because when you align to higher levels of consciousness, the ego work is paramount. Doesn't matter if you're an empath or not. If you are not doing your ego work on a regular basis, your consciousness can easily be misdirected. and your healing abilities. So as somebody who helps people, like, I don't want to ever be an ego as I'm working with my clients, because one, I'm going to get misinformation. Who wants that? Not me. Because there's a when you are assisting people to learn about themselves and to grow, the karmic the karma that you can create if you're misaligned is absolutely huge. So you really want to be in alignment. You want to be in your heart. If you make a mistake, you want to make a correction. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. Thank you. Somebody's saying you're so pretty. Well, thank you. That's nice. Paul says, I set my boundaries with people that are imbalanced in ego. Paul, oftentimes people who are so focused on setting boundaries are not doing the inner work to really address why those boundaries need to be set. And oftentimes they're setting those boundaries out of a need to protect themselves, and that is fear-based. Doing anything out of fear just brings more fear and just attracts that type of energy. So I applaud you, Paul, for having your awareness and being an empath. And though the path of an empath is not always easy, but it's really rewarding too. And Paul agrees that many people are wounded. All right, y'all. Anything else about how to do an assessment, how to be willing to see, how to be willing to align? Any questions about that? Otherwise, we'll just call it a day on this video. Let's see. No questions, questions, questions. I know there's a delay on the YouTube, so we'll wait. Aunt Kush, are you still here? You said hello and then goodbye. Oh, thanks, Greg. Greg, you're in, what's the country again? You're in, let me see. It's somewhere in Europe. It's not Ireland. Poland. That's it, Poland. Poland. I've never been to Poland. I love it. What time is it there? So nice for you to be here. Okay. So, oh, is that in the daytime? Yeah, I guess that 21:51 is daytime. Okay, it's almost 1 o'clock. Got it. Really? It can't be 1 o'clock. That's at night. 2100. I'm trying to think. I forget what time 2100 is. My military time is off these days. Ah, okay. Thank you. Thanks, Greg. I forgot my military time. Okay, 9 o'clock at night. Well, thanks for spending some time with me tonight. Thanks for helping me with my math. All right, y'all. Well, I don't see any questions about this topic. We're almost at the end of the year. Is there any topic? I mean, this being aligned is such a vast area. What area have I missed? Is there an area that I could address that would help people align more? That's what I question every day. I ask, what is an aspect of alignment that would help people align more? I spent a lot of time on trauma. People really seem to like the trauma topics, but to me, it's, oh, shadow work. Okay, I love shadow work. But I thought I did talk about that, but okay, that's coming. I'm going to do that. Shadow work is one of my favorite things to do. I love bringing the unconscious to the conscious level. In fact, Raw One, you're onto it, because in the new year, I'm going to do a special program, but it's going to be small, to help people really work on bringing the unconscious to the conscious, because it's really challenging to do it on your own. But when you work with a small group of people who want to do that too, it moves so fast. Trauma topics, but trauma is so huge. Like, I've talked about trauma in so many different ways. What topic specifically? Francisco is saying life is like a walk. In each step we need to choose the right way, trying always to avoid bad behaviors or experiences that damage our serenity. Beautiful, Francisco. So true. Well, I think people don't realize they're so used to being perceived as strong, and I used to do that. But we are very sensitive, especially if you're an empath. Hello, beautiful within. Oh, I love to see you here. What trauma is a topic, but it's such a big topic. What aspect? Because hey, Dean, I really feel like I've addressed trauma in so many ways. What aspect, I got to really think about what aspect of trauma should because I do not address trauma the traditional ways. So every time I would do a topic on trauma, people would ask, are you a therapist? Are you a doctor? Are you this? Are you that? Because people think if they have trauma, they have to get medicated, and that's just wrong. Trauma is the tension buildup in the drama. The stories of connection, detention isn't always perceivable from all perceptual angles. True. Thank you for that. That's beautiful. I have addressed trauma. Eric is saying, howdy, beautiful within. Yeah, she changed her name. This one is really, I like what you're doing, beautiful within, because it's a fundamental thing that when we start to identify or call ourselves things as simple as on this YouTube, it has a profound impact on how we expand. And oftentimes people use their misidentifications of diagnoses as part of their identity. Study topics. What does that mean? Because I don't really subscribe to traditional educational systems. Study topics. Can you be more specific? The best thing that can dissolve trauma is meditation. Well, Rob, I would say dissolving trauma is about rising in consciousness. That means that we're bringing our light into a wound. Yes, and I think meditation is definitely one way of doing it. Conscious breathing is another way. I speak mostly about learning oneself, even though I'm still learning myself. For some reasons, I love that topic. Okay. Oh, so you're a public speaker, beauty within? Beautiful within. Hello, XYZ. Good to see you. Are you a professional? I do what's called energy psychology. What is this profession? It's also known as a healer. It's also known as a light worker. It's also known as rising in consciousness. But all the work I do is experiential. So you have your own experience of what it is that we do when we work together. Okay, y'all. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for the suggestions on topics. I'm going to talk about shadow work, and then that is aligned with trauma. But I'm gonna see what I can come up with that's a different approach, because energy psychology is a different approach to trauma. It's definitely not conventional. Good. Greg is rising in consciousness. Aren't we all? We all are here to rise in consciousness. Not all of this is in alignment with God. Zoya is saying, once it comes to love, understanding love is an art and everyone is not an artist. Well, I would say love is a frequency, Zoya. Think of love as a frequency. Oh, making lives better. The profession is making lives better. Yeah, that's a simple way of saying it. I try. My father is no longer traumatizing me. Good. That sounds like a very empowering perspective. You know, we get the parents we get. What we do with what we've gotten is our responsibility, Greg. Love, what love topics? Oh, thank you. So beautiful within. Do you have your own YouTube channel too? And you are speaking, is that what you do? I'm not on YouTube when I'm not on these videos. Hi, Samir. Everybody be kind in the chat. It's a small group here. So I'm going to do a different topic on trauma from an energetic perspective. Paul is saying, I'm a student of life. Yes, Paul, me too. We are an experiencer of our co-creations. Yes. Why don't I monetize? I will pay. Okay, Francisco, bye-bye. Good to see you. Safe travels. Thanks for being here. Zoya says, change is easier when you realize that growth is often a gradual process, not a sudden transformation. And Zoya, what I said at the beginning of the video is, change is easier when you realize what you are doing is no longer aligned with your values. That one thing can change everything. But if you don't know your values, it'll be very difficult. And if you're not doing regular assessments, if you're not willing to see, and if you're not willing to align, you know, there it is. All right, y'all. So tomorrow I'll be back for another video. My name's Kiana, here from the Being in Sync 366 video series. Give us a like, give us a share, come back, put comments on the videos that you watch. I love you guys for being here. I love having meaningful conversations. Thank you for sharing. And I'm just going to see what Beautiful Within says. Yes, I have a channel and I speak about growing up. I speak about learning ourselves, why it's important to learn ourselves and identify issues. All that. Oh, beautiful. I love it. Well, Beautiful Within, I'm going to do an offering in January that I think you would love, and you could share it when you're doing it. When you get it mastered, it'll be great. The more people that learn to do the work that I do, and it's not, you know, trademarked because it's not supposed to be kept secret. Anyhow, I'm going to be offering that in January, so you're welcome to join that if that's of interest to you. I'm not going to charge a lot for it because I want to have a dedicated, small group of people that are really committed to just doing that deep dive, because I love deep dives. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. I hope, how can you reframe setbacks as opportunities for growth rather than failures? Well, that's really an interesting one, but it's really our perspective. And our perspective comes from our beliefs, Zoya. I talk about beliefs all the time. You must be tired of hearing me say that. But most people are not, they're not challenging what they believe. And therefore, they believe really thoughts and ideas and dogmas and ideologies that are part of keeping people small. So I'll talk about that. Thanks, you guys. See you tomorrow for another round of this video. I'm going to see what I can come up with whether it's shadow work or trauma. They are correlated, so maybe it's a series. All right, y'all. Have a great day.